How's it going, everyone? This is George here, and today we are going to be starting a new series of reviews for the month of December. And these reviews will be about a sport that I love, which is basketball. I used to play and manage basketball back in my younger days. This is my old uniform when I used to be manager for my high school team. And we're going to be reviewing some basketball themed movies. So, one of those movies that we're going to be reviewing is Hoosiers. This is the 1986 film directed by David Asbon, who also directed the football film Rudy from the 1990s. By the way, sorry if I mispronounced the last name. And this film stars Gene Hackman as Norman Dale, a former college coach with quite an iffy past. And he comes to the town of Hickory in Indiana to coach high school basketball in what is probably his last chance. And he's basically up against a lot, not just opposing teams that he's got to play against as a coach, but the fact that he's got a really small team. The best player on the team, Jimmy, hasn't played basketball since the previous coach died. The townspeople are against him because his style of coaching is quite different from what they're used to, and this is a town that's very passionate about basketball. And there's also this teacher, played by Barbara Hershey, that seems to be against him as well and seems very suspicious of Norman and his attentions in this town. So, this film was inspired by true events back in 1954, where Millen High School went on this run and were basically the first small high school to win the state championship. And while this is a fictional film, it is based on those true events or inspired by those true events. And this is also a film that had some behind the scenes drama as well. Gene Hackman clashed with the director many times. In fact, Gene Hackman thought this film was going to be the end of his career, when in reality, it actually helped his career. But the director got very anxious at many points during during filming this film, and at one point almost had a nervous breakdown. This film also stars Dennis Hopper as Shooter, who is the father of one of the players, and is basically the town alcoholic that everyone is embarrassed about, including his son. But Norman Dale decides to make him one of his assistant coaches because he has such great knowledge of basketball. So there's really a lot that's happening in this film, not just the fact that Norman Dale has to bring this team to greatness despite the impossible odds, but also this film deals with alcoholism and how to fight that, how to take advantage of a second chance that you're being given. And we kind of see a lot of these tropes in future sports films, not just basketball films, but sports films where the town and the players are against the coach. But Hoosiers was one of the first films to do this formula, and they did it so well. This is one of the best sports films to have ever came out. Gene Hackman as Norman Dale gives a great performance, which is why it's so surprising when I did the research and found out that there was behind the scenes drama, and Gene Hackman was not very high on this film to begin with, but he does a great job in this film, and the development of how he gets this team together works out very well. And yeah, you have those struggles at the beginning that they do a very good job of portraying. The first game, basically, they're struggling on defense, and one of the players decides to play hero ball, which is against the system that Norman Dale is putting for his players. He wants to do four passes, then shoot, and it confuses the townspeople, and one of the players decides to try to play hero ball. And then he benches that player, even though they're starting to catch up to the team, because this is not what's going to win other games. This is not going to help the team, and everyone seems to be against the coach while doing it, with the exception of Shooter, who's watching this. Then the second game, Normandale gets ejected from the game. And then you got the third game where the team's doing very well, but it's the first game. Shooter's an assistant coach, and the townspeople are confused and mortified that the local drunk is being an assistant coach on their beloved team. And then the fourth game happens where he gets ejected once again, and it kind of leads to him, the townspeople wanting to kick him off this team. And then Barbara Hershey's character discovers that he was banned from coaching college basketball after an incident with one of his former players, but decides to not bring it up to the townspeople and learns to appreciate what this coach did. For example, all the townspeople want him to recruit Jimmy to play for them, But Dale's like, that's Jimmy's decision. He's not going to pressure him. And the teacher even warns the coach, don't put pressure on him. He's been through a lot. And I want him to have a future outside of basketball. And she learns to appreciate that because he could have done it at any point. But then the turning point of this film is basically when Jimmy says, hey, I'm going to play, but I'm only going to play if Coach Dale stays. If he leaves, then he's going to leave again. And that's a turning point for this team and rejuvenizes this team. The performance that obviously sticks out in this film is Dennis Hopper as Shooter. This was the performance that got Hopper nominated for an Academy Award. And a lot of people thought it was going to be the film Blue Velvet that came out this year. Now, I never saw that film, but I think it caught a lot of people by surprise that it was Hoosiers he got his nomination for, and not Blue Velvet. But Dennis Hopper did a great job with this performance, and he was also hesitant to take on this role because around this time he was becoming sober himself in real life, so he was worried about playing a drunk in a film after he basically cleaned himself up. But the character arc of Shooter also works in this film because he obviously starts off as this bumbling drunk that everyone's embarrassed, but then you see how Coach Dale believes in him, how how he's looking more clean, and then when Dale gets ejected from another game, Shooter basically coaches the game-winning play, and he has his heroic moment, but then takes a couple steps back in his fight against alcohol when he shows up to a game very drunk. But yeah, this is more than just a film about basketball and winning basketball games. It's a story of second chances, of facing demons or past demons, of fighting against alcohol. If there's one thing that I will say is not a negative, but would not have made a difference if it wasn't in the film, was the romance between the teacher and Coach Dale. It felt like while it wasn't bad, it was like had there been no romance at the end between the two of them, it wouldn't have made a big difference in the film. But other than that, Hoosiers is probably the best basketball film ever made. I wouldn't say it's the best sports film ever made, but it's definitely one of the best. Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper give great performances in this film. The development of this team works out very well. The film score is very uplifting and inspiring and fits the tone of this movie. And overall, with Hoosiers, I'm gonna give this film an A plus, and I highly recommend you check it out. This film has been out for over 30 years. I think it's now 36 years old. And yeah, go check it out. You can probably find it on DVD or Blu-ray somewhere, or it's find it on TV or a streaming service. But what are your thoughts on the film Hoosiers? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what's your favorite sports movie? For me, I would say it's both Rocky and Remember the Titans. Those are probably my two favorite sports films. Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share us with someone that loves basketball, that has seen Hoosiers or is interested in seeing Hoosiers. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.